gentlemen, we are here to commemorate 60 years of Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay ji's Ekatma Manav Darshan. And it's with great pleasure today I would like to share that in this very city, the idea of Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay ji's Ekatma Manav Darshan was born. So I would again request you to please be seated. On behalf of organizer and National Stock Exchange, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to Arthayam, the conclave of Dharmic model of development. This particular year marks the 60th anniversary of the landmark framework for governance and development propounded by Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay ji's Ekatma Manav Darshan. This theory of holistic development, titled Integral Humanism, was adopted in this city in the year 1965 as
Recording in
doctrine
progress.
of economic philosophy of Jansangh. And as we mark its 60 years, we come together with thinkers, policymakers, economists, and visionaries to deliberate on the road ahead. To begin this auspicious occasion, I request everyone to kindly rise for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you. Please be seated. Friends, this conclave today will take us through 6 enriching sessions, from revisiting Ekatma Manav Darshan to exploring its policy implications in today's turbulent world. Before we move ahead, let us invite our distinguished guest on stage for the ceremonial lighting of the lamp. May I request our guest, Shri Sunil Ambekar ji, Shri Ashish Chauhan ji, Shri Prafulla Ketkar ji, to kindly join us for this auspicious moment. I would also request Shri Arun Kumar Goyal ji to join us. Thank you. And now, to set the tone for today's deliberations, I invite Shri Prafulla Ketkar ji, editor of Bharat's oldest English weekly, organizer, and a distinguished scholar of Indian political thought, international relations, to share his remarks on Ekatma Manav Darshan.
Namaste. When we first thought organizer coming to Delhi, there were few people who are present here who actually germinated this thought process. Organizer, though, has a history of more than 78 years now. Just before independence, when nationalist thought was taken a back seat, started in Delhi with the blessings of Deen Dayal ji himself, Pujaniya Sri Guruji, RSS Sarasanga Chalak, but as an independent company of 14,000 shareholders. And since then, we have been embarking on this journey of spreading national thought in English media. But this particular venue, Mumbai, has a special significance and NSE has a special significance. Last year when I visited NSE, we were just having a chat about 60 years of Ekatma Manav Darshan. And then Ashish ji proposed, why don't you do something here? You know, people generally think capital market and everything is antithetical to the Swadeshi thought. We are the ones who have built Swadeshi technology. We have who have built, you know, the most secured server of India. We are the ones who are guiding the market, and we have to adapt to the new situation now. So why don't you do something here? Fortunately, there were 2-3 people with whom I discussed, and they happily agreed to it, and that's how we decided 25th September is Deen Dayal ji's birth anniversary. So we thought Mumbai was the place where he first articulated his thought. So it would be appropriate to, you know, remember him, his thought process and the way. That time we didn't know that something turbulent is going to happen in terms of geopolitical scenario, geoeconomics, tariff war. So it is just a coincidence. But I take this opportunity to thank Ashish ji, NSE for collaborating with organizer. I thank you all for you know, accepting our invitation and participating in this conclave. This is supposed to be a starting process for a new kind of churning. Because when Deen Dayal ji proposed his ideas, Cold War was the reality. So he was proposing a Dharmic model or Bharatiya model of development, finance and economy in the context of Cold War. And that's why he critically examined communism and capitalism as the two models and as an Indian alternative to it. While doing so, he clearly said, I'm not proposing something new. I'm just re-articulating the ancient wisdom. The exact words he used in Hindi, he said, जो स्वदेशी है उसको युगानुकूल करना है और जो विदेश से आ रहा है उसको देशानुकूल करना है. So he was not antithetical to the foreign ideas, but at the same time he was particular for Indianization of those ideas. At the same time, he was not very, you know, conservative in that sense that generally people articulate, to stick to only Indian ideas, but making them relevant for the contemporary times. So I hope today's deliberation will be a new starting in the post Cold War, post-globalization, post-unilateral, turbulent, multipolar world to recontextualize Ekatma Manav Darshan, and that is what we thought while organizing this conclave. I again welcome you all on behalf of organizer, and thank you for supporting this idea. I hope this will be a long-term association and collaboration for exploring the ideas with rooted in Indian soil, but exploring for the ideas of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Thank you, and I welcome all on behalf of organizer and NAC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prafulla sir. To take this thought forward, I now invite Shri Ashish Kumar Chauhan ji, CEO and MD of the National Stock Exchange of India, a visionary leader who transformed NSE into a global institution. Shri Chauhan will share his perspective on the role of financial institutions in building the Arthayam model.
Good morning. My respectful pranams and welcome to Shri Sunil Ji Ambekar, Shri Prafulla Ji Ketkar, distinguished speakers of the Arthayam Conclave, media personnel, team from the Organizer Weekly, all dear friends, colleagues, distinguished guests. It gives me immense pleasure and honor to welcome all of you to the National Stock Exchange in Mumbai. It's not just incidental, but an icing on the cake. I would say that India's legendary thinker and politician, philosopher Pandit Dindayal Upadhyay ji gave his 4-part lecture underscoring the importance of Arthayam in Mumbai 60 years back. The thought of organizing such a gathering germinated in and through the conversation I had with Sri Prafulla Ji Ketkar in May this year. I am glad to see this in action with distinguished speakers from all walks of life gracing the occasion and sharing their perspectives on Ekatma Manav Darshan, or what we call integral humanism. NSE, the pride of Bharat, which was our first digital public infrastructure and the first fintech. It's still the largest fintech of India. NSE enables capital and investments that fuel the nation's rise through fund mobilization, capital formation, wealth creation, and job creation. As Chanakya said, Dharmasyam mulam artha, and so NSE, without NSE, we will not become a Vishwaguru or a prosperous nation. NSE has emerged as a global leader in IPOs. In about last 4 years, NSE facilitated fund mobilization of 68 lakh crores for Indian corporates, municipalities, state governments, central government. Today, NSE serves 12 crore investors holding 23 crore accounts, which comprise 1/4 of all Indian households. That shows India has also become middle class, and NSE is no longer a preserve of few rich. Our objective is to make all our people a stakeholder in the Bharat's economic journey that I always say that we are enabling 1.4 billion dreams. NSE is a place where India trusts itself. There is nothing more Swadeshi than the National Stock Exchange built by Bharat for Bharat, and of course, it remains of Bharat. There cannot be a better time for Arthayam Conclave, that too at the heart of India's capital markets. Bharat today is the 4th largest economy in the world and 4th largest capital market in the world also. Bharat is standing tall as a power of example for the world. Day long, we are going to discuss integral humanism and its relevance to today's time and age in Bharat. What is significant in Ekatma Manav Darshan is that it is rooted in Bharatiya thinking. It is original in nature. Dindayal ji wonderfully weaves together spirituality, morality, and inclusive approach by incorporating varied viewpoints in his exposition of Ekatma Manav Darshan. I recall reading in the Organizer Weekly how he offers fundamentals of dialogue, discussion, debate, and discourse in a contemporary form with classical underpinnings in his exposition of the philosophical thoughts of integral humanism. Not just this. According to Dindayal ji, the term Bharat Mata is an awareness that builds our connection with this geographical land. 3 days back also, I had a very interesting discussion on how to connect all humans with nature using relationship with Prafullaji. I would like to underscore, he was also clear in expounding the importance of being one nation and one people through Ek Jan. Be it Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, or Pandit Deendayal Upadhyay ji, following their words and action, one thing is very clear, that is to frame our public policies in such a manner that we keep the last man and woman standing in the village in mind. In Arthayam, Deendayal ji exhorts, for whom is the ultimate economic development. He says the goal and the measure of economic development is to be judged by all-round progress of human beings. Since the individual is at the heart of integral humanism, Deendayal ji opines to give primacy to all-round individual growth, that is, growth at the mind, intellect, and soul level too. Friends, how can we balance scientific and technological development with all-around human development? This is how we can put Arthayam into a contemporary relevance in today's rapidly changing world. We are glad that Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, is carrying forward that vision and putting his word into action. I sincerely hope Arthayam Conclave provides us all an opportunity to brainstorm together, listen and imbibe, and work towards Viksit Bharat 2047. I warmly welcome all of you and wish the conclave the very best. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Ashish ji. Today also marks a very special occasion as we are about to launch a book dedicated to the 100 years of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. I would invite our dignitaries, Shri Sunil Ambekar ji, Shri Ashish Chauhan ji, Shri Praful Ketkar ji, along with Shri Mukul Kanitkar ji and Shri Arun Goyal ji to please come on the stage for the book launch. This book is dedicated to the 100 years of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, published by Organizer Weekly. And now, it is my honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Shri Sunil Ambekar ji, the Akhil Bharatiya Prachar Pramukh of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. His lifelong commitment to nation building and intellectual commitment has inspired countless minds. But before his address, let us watch a short introductory video about Shri Ambekar ji.
Shri Sunil Ambekar ji is currently serving as the Akhil Bharatiya Prachar Pramukh of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. A Swayamsevak since childhood, he dedicated his early years to the Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad, where he rose through various responsibilities from Organizing Secretary in Vidarbha, Joint National Organizing Secretary, and finally as the National Organizing Secretary. Academically, he holds a master's degree in zoology. Sunil Ambekar ji has also authored books that articulate the vision and contemporary role of the Sangh, including the RSS Roadmaps for the 21st Century and Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh Swarnim Bharat Ki Disha Sutra. We welcome Shri Sunil Ambekarji to Arthayam.
सभी को नमस्ते। आज ऑर्गेनाइज़र के इस विशेष अर्थायाम कॉन्क्लेव में श्रीमान आशीष चौहान जी, प्रफुल्ल केतकर जी, उपस्थित सभी को नमस्कार। हमारा देश अभी लगातार एक आर्थिक प्रगति की दृष्टि से चर्चा में भी है, और अगर आज देश का वर्णन करना है तो एक एस्पिरेशनल कंट्री ऐसा बोल सकते हैं एक। और हमारे देश में जब मैं एस्पिरेशनल कंट्री कह रहा हूँ तो कुछ लोगों का एस्पिरेशन नहीं है। अब देश में शहर में रहते, गांव में रहते हैं, सुदूर जंगल में, पहाड़ में, कहीं भी रहते हो, किसी भी जाति समुदाय, किसी भी तरीके से, किसी व्यवसाय से हो, तो ये बात अब सबके मन में एक एस्पिरेशन है कि आगे बढ़ सकते हैं, बढ़ना चाहिए और आगे बढ़ सकते हैं। तो ये मुझे लगता है कि एक बहुत अच्छा परिवर्तन भारत में हुआ है। अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी जब प्रधानमंत्री थे देश के, तो उन्होंने एक स्कीम शुरू की थी, उसका नाम था स्कूल चले हम। और उसका अर्थ था कि स्कूल में बच्चे लोग नहीं भेज रहे। देश में बहुत सारे लोग ऐसे हैं जो शिक्षा का महत्व नहीं जानते और अपने बच्चों को शिक्षा में नहीं भेजते स्कूल में, और इसलिए मिड डे मील स्कूल भी शुरू हुई। और 98 मुझे लगता है, लगभग मुझे एग्जैक्टली याद नहीं वर्ष, लेकिन उसी के आसपास उनकी सरकार जब बनी तो पहले फेज़ में ही उन्होंने ये अभियान शुरू किया। तो उस समय की परिस्थिति ये थी। और अब जाकर जब हम लोग इतने साल के बाद, लगभग 20 साल हो गए, 25 साल हो गए, उसके बाद जब देख रहे तो अब वास्तव बदल गया है ज़मीन पर। अब हमारे प्राइमरी स्कूल का जो इनरोलमेंट है वो 99-100 तक पहुंच चुका है। और गरीब से गरीब, गांव से गांव में रहने वाले कोई भी व्यक्ति, कोई भी परिवार, माँ बाप ये सोच रहे कि किसी तरीके से बच्चों को, बेटी भी हो बेटा हो, अच्छे स्कूल में भेजना है और उसको पढ़ाना है। पढ़ने से वो आगे जाएगा और स्थिति बदलेगी, परिवार की स्थिति बदलेगी और आगे हमारे देश की भी प्रगति होगी। तो एवरीबडी इज बिकमिंग अ कंट्रीब्यूटर टू द आवर इकोनॉमी एंड आवर सोसाइटी एंड आवर डेवलपमेंट प्रोसेस। दैट इज द बिगेस्ट चेंज हैपन इन आवर कंट्री। और मुझे लगता है कि किसी देश के लिए अगर कोई पूर्व शर्त है, प्री रिक्विजिट है उसके आगे बढ़ने की, तो उसके सभी लोगों का उसमें सहभागी होना, ये बहुत बड़ी बात है। और मुझे लगता है कि उस दृष्टि से सबसे बड़ी ये बात होगी कि जो ऐसी इकोनॉमी, उसी को धार्मिक कह सकते हैं, जो सबको इंक्लूड करती है, किसी को एक्सक्लूड नहीं करती है, जो सभी को साथ में लेकर चलने का कार्य कर सकती है। मुझे लगता है कि आज उस दृष्टि से नए नए प्रकार की नीतियाँ, मुझे लगता है कि बहुत सारी आर्थिक नीतियाँ बनी हैं, हर समय बनी, लेकिन अब इस एस्पिरेशन के अनुकूल बहुत सारी नीतियाँ बनी। और आप जैसे लोग जब यहाँ बैठे तो मुझे लगता है कि इसके अनुसार, इसके लिए और कौन सी ऐसी नीतियाँ चाहिए, ऐसे कौन से बदलाव चाहिए, उसके बारे में विचार करना अत्यंत आवश्यक है। मुझे लगता है कि धर्म के लिए वही कार्य होगा, क्योंकि धर्म का अर्थ ही है कि फेयरनेस। धर्म को अगर अर्थ के आयाम में अगर समझते हैं, कई आयाम हैं धर्म के, अगर अर्थ के आयाम में धर्म को समझना है तो सबसे महत्वपूर्ण उसका आयाम है इट्स अ फेयरनेस, कि सबके लिए एक बराबरी का अवसर हो, किसी को अपने अपने तरीके से दौड़ने के लिए, आगे बढ़ने के लिए ऐसी बाधाएं ना आए कि कुछ लोगों ने रास्ता ब्लॉक करके रखा हो। तो जो भी ब्लॉकेड है वो उसको हटाना और सबके लिए रास्ता खोलना, ये मुझे लगता है कि सबसे बड़ा धर्म का अगर अर्थ के दृष्टि से समझना है तो ये आयाम है। हमारे पुराने शास्त्रों में इसी के बारे में लिखा है। आप राम राज्य से अगर शुरू करेंगे, रामायण से लेकर, तो रामायण के दृष्टि से भी एक उदाहरण आता है कि वो कहते हैं कि मतलब टैक्स के बारे में वर्णन है। वो बोलते हैं कि टैक्स कैसा है, तो जैसे बादल बनते हैं तो पता नहीं चलता कि बादल कब बन गए। हवा में पानी चल जाता है, इवापोरेशन होता है, उड़ जाता है, बादल बनते रहते हैं, पता नहीं लगता कब बने। लेकिन जब बादल बरसते हैं तो वो सब जगह बारिश लेकर आते हैं, सब जगह हरियाली लेकर आते हैं, नई फसल आती है, सब कुछ होता है। तो रामायण में उसकी कल्पना की गई है कि टैक्स शुड बी लाइक दिस, जब जाएगा जेब से पता नहीं लगना चाहिए, लाइक जैसे बादल बन गए, आपको पता नहीं लगना चाहिए। और जब उसकी वेलफेयर स्कीम आएगी तो सब तक जानी चाहिए, सबको दिखनी चाहिए। जब ऐसा नहीं होता है, दैट इज अनफेयरनेस, वो धर्म के अनुसार नहीं है। फिर अगर ऐसा नहीं होता है तो वो अधर्म है, और अगर ऐसा होता है या करने के लिए जो भी प्रयास किए जाते हैं, जो भी व्यवस्था बनाई जाती है, वो धर्म है। यही बात को अलग अलग लोगों ने, अगर आप चाणक्य नीति देखेंगे या समय समय पर जितने भी हमारे यहाँ जिनके नाम हम लेते हैं, विक्रमादित्य से लेकर, उनके राज्यों की कल्पना करेंगे तो उन्होंने सबसे पहला ये काम किया कि व्यापार के रास्ते खुले होने चाहिए। जो व्यवसाय करना चाहता है, चाहे शहर में हो, गांव में हो, तो उसके लिए उसे सुविधा मिले। जिसने जो कमाया, दो बातें हैं इसमें, जिसने कमाया उसके लिए धर्म है कि वो दान करें, दूसरों की सहायता करें, और दूसरे का धर्म है कि दूसरे ने कमाया हुआ मैं चोरी से न ले लूं, वो अधर्म है। मतलब तो ये जो धर्म की कल्पना है ये बहुत पुरानी है, लेकिन आज भी वो उतनी ही लागू है। वो चाहे आज की कॉम्प्लिकेटेड इकोनॉमी हो, जैसे कई लोगों को, क्योंकि आशीष जी बैठे हैं, कई लोगों को स्टॉक एक्सचेंज समझने के लिए क्लास लेनी पड़ती है। बहुत सारे लोग देश भर में मैंने देखा है, कई जगहों पर जब लोग शुरू करते हैं स्टॉक एक्सचेंज के साथ काम शुरू करते हैं तो ट्रेनिंग लेते हैं, तो इट्स नॉट टू इजी। तो इतनी कठिन व्यवस्था में भी दैट फेयरनेस इज वेरी इम्पॉर्टेंट। आज दुनिया भर में अंतर्राष्ट्रीय व्यापार की बात चल रही है। कई लोग सोचते हैं कि शायद अंतर्राष्ट्रीय व्यापार ये पिछले 200-400 वर्षों में ही प्रारंभ हुआ। ये बात भी गलत है। जो इंटरनेशनल ट्रेड है, अंतर्राष्ट्रीय व्यापार है, ये बहुत हजारों वर्षों की बात है। इसके बहुत सारे उदाहरण और बहुत सारे ऐसे तथ्य उपलब्ध है, हिस्टोरिकल फैक्ट्स उपलब्ध है अभी। तो हजारों वर्षों तक ये व्यापार की प्रक्रिया, अंतर्राष्ट्रीय व्यापार, ये बात चलती ही रही है। और अंतर्राष्ट्रीय व्यापार का अर्थ ये कि जिसकी जो ज़रूरत है, जिसकी जहाँ आवश्यकता है, उन तक वो वस्तु को पहुँचाना। कि अगर मेरे पास है और दुनिया के मेरे पास अतिरिक्त है, मेरे देश के अलावा और दुनिया में किसी भी कोने में उस वस्तु की आवश्यकता किसी को है या उस वस्तु को लेने वाले लोग हैं, तो वहाँ तक अच्छे तरीके से वो वस्तु को पहुँचाना, वो वस्तुएं अच्छी तरीके से पहुँच जाए, ये देखना राजा का धर्म है। और व्यापारी का धर्म है कि वो सही तरीके से पहुँचा दें। और जहाँ पर वो वस्तु जा रही है उनका भी ये धर्म है कि वो वस्तुएं ठीक तरीके से आए, फेयर तरीके से आए। लोगों को अपने देश में भी वो दूसरे जगह से आई वस्तु ज़्यादा महंगी ना मिले, वो सस्ते में और अच्छी वस्तु कैसे मिले, इसको देखना उनका धर्म है। ये बात हजारों वर्षों से है, आज भी ये बात लागू है। इसलिए आज जब बहुत सारे अंतर्राष्ट्रीय व्यापारों की चर्चा हो रही है, बहुत सारी अंतर्राष्ट्रीय व्यापार की संस्थाएं इस पर बात कर रही है, बहुत सारे देश बात कर रहे हैं, मल्टीलैटरल ट्रीटीज़ हो, बायलैटरल हो, यूनिलैटरल अपने डिसीजंस हो, इसके बारे में बहुत सारी चर्चा हो रही है। इस समय ये बहुत ज़रूरी है कि ये बात किसी एक देश के हित में नहीं, ये देश सबके हित में कैसी हो, ये बात बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। और इसीलिए इन मॉडर्न से मॉडर्न बात को भी या आने वाले समय में भी भारत के नाते हमें उस आधार पर ही हमें इन बातों को देखना होगा। देखिए, कई शब्द हैं हमारे यहाँ पर जिनको मिसअंडरस्टूड किया गया। जैसे कभी कभी स्वदेशी की बात होती है। मैं कई बार जैसे इंग्लैंड गया, यूरोप गया और भी देशों में गया, तो वो लोग वहाँ के लोग पूछते हैं, वहाँ के पार्लियामेंट मेंबर्स या वहाँ के मीडिया के लोग पूछते हैं कि व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय योर स्वदेशी। सो आई हर्ड दैट योर स्वदेशी मीन्स यू आर अपोजिंग द इंटरनेशनल ट्रेड, ऐसा पूछते हैं प्रश्न। तो मुझे लगता है कि ये बात बहुत अच्छे तरीके से समझना बहुत ज़रूरी है, क्योंकि स्वदेशी का अर्थ ये होता है कि स्वदेशी का अर्थ ये होता है कि आपने अपने देश में भी कंट्रीब्यूट करना है इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट में। हमारे ऐसे आसपास में ऐसे देश है जो वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमी में अपने देश की इकोनॉमी में कुछ कंट्रीब्यूट ही नहीं कर रहे हैं, वो तो वॉर इकोनॉमी में ही कुछ करते रहते हैं, वर्ल्ड एक जो डेवलपमेंटल इकोनॉमी में कंट्रीब्यूट ही नहीं कर रहे हैं। तो वास्तव में स्वदेशी का अर्थ ये है कि हर एक व्यक्ति को एक पॉजिटिवली अपने इकोनॉमी में कंट्रीब्यूट करना है। अगर हर जगह पर प्रोडक्शन होगा, हर जगह के लोग इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी करेंगे और उसका उपयोग भी करेंगे, तो स्वाभाविक रूप से हर जगह हमारी इकोनॉमी रोटेट होगी। केवल एक ऊपर के लेवल पर रोटेट नहीं होगी, एट द ग्राउंड लेवल इकोनॉमी शुड रोटेट। ये एकदम ग्राउंड लेवल पर इकोनॉमिक रोटेशन जो है, साइकिल है, वो मतलब स्वदेशी है। और इसलिए लोग स्थानीय वस्तु का उपयोग करेंगे, उसमें अपनी क्रिएटिविटी लगाएंगे, उसके लिए अपने जीवन में उसका उपयोग करेंगे। करते समय देखेंगे कि ये इन्वायरमेंटल फ्रेंडली भी हो जाए, ये आसपास मुझे फ़ायदा भी हो, आसपास के लोगों को रोज़गार भी मिल जाए, आसपास के लोगों की भी इकोनॉमिक प्रॉस्पेरिटी, उनकी आर्थिक प्रगति में योगदान हो जाए मेरा। ये जो एक परस्पर एक दूसरे पर इंटरडिपेंडेंट, इस तरह में कोई लेने वाला कोई देने वाला, ये इकोनॉमी धर्म के अनुसार नहीं है। धर्म के अनुसार इकोनॉमी का मतलब देयर शुड बी अ इंटरडिपेंडेंस, और एकदम लोएस्ट लेवल पर भी साइकिल रोटेट होना चाहिए। तो स्वदेशी का जो आज के संदर्भ में अगर उसका अर्थ समझना है, तो वो अर्थ इस दृष्टि से समझना चाहिए। और इसलिए अगर एक छोटी सी बात है कि प्रोडक्शन, दीनदयाल उपाध्याय जी का उल्लेख हुआ, दीनदयाल जी ने अंत्योदय की बात की थी, दीनदयाल जी ने एकात्म मानव दर्शन की बात की थी। एकात्म मानव दर्शन इज नॉट जस्ट अ थियरी, ये एक जीवंत अनुभव से और भारत के हजारों वर्षों के चिंतन और अनुभव से, अभ्यास से उत्पन्न हुआ एक विचार था, जिसको उन्होंने आधुनिक समय में वर्तमान परिप्रेक्ष्य में उसको व्यक्त किया। उसको उस संदर्भ में देखना है। और इसीलिए जहां पर प्रोडक्शन, ये उन्होंने कहा था कि डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड प्रोडक्शन होना चाहिए। अभी देखिए, पिछले 300-400 वर्षों में नई टेक्नोलॉजीज आई, नई नई रोज टेक्नोलॉजी आ रही है, और दुनिया भर के लोगों ने जैसे जैसे नई टेक्नोलॉजी आई, तो हम लोगों का एक, क्योंकि इतने फास्ट नई टेक्नोलॉजीज आ रही है, कई टेक्नोलॉजीज ऑर्गेनिकली डेवलप नहीं हो रही है। मतलब मैं इस शब्द को भी बोलता हूँ, ऑर्गेनिक डेवलप होना, फिर वो धार्मिक है। क्योंकि जैसे जैसे मनुष्य का जीवन है, उस मनुष्य की जैसी आवश्यकता है, उसके अनुसार टेक्नोलॉजीज का जन्म होता है। और हर जनरेशन में, मतलब हम स्टोन एज से शुरू करेंगे तो हर युग में, हर समय में, दुनिया के हर कोने में ऑर्गेनिकली मनुष्य अपने सिविलाइजेशन को डेवलप करता है, करता गया है। तो उस दौरान में टेक्नोलॉजीज डेवलप होती है, आपकी सिस्टम्स डेवलप होती है, आपकी आदतों में भी चेंजेस आते हैं, एक नेचुरल ऑर्गेनिक तरीके से ये डेवलप होता है, और वो फिर इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइज भी होता है। और इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइज होते होते वो एक आपको इको फ्रेंडली, आपको ह्यूमन फ्रेंडली, हर तरीके से उसका एक सिस्टमेटिक सेटलमेंट हो जाता है। और ये बात किसी को भी डिस्टर्ब नहीं करती, किसी को यहाँ से वहाँ फेंक नहीं देती, किसी को उखाड़ नहीं देती। तो वो एक सभी तरीकों, सभी लोगों को अकोमोडेट करते करते ऑर्गेनिक तरीके से आगे बढ़ती है। अब हमारे 300-400 वर्षों में ये हुआ है कि हमारी टेक्नोलॉजीज़ इतनी फास्ट डेवलप हुई है। टेक्नोलॉजीज़ तो हमें चाहिए क्योंकि वो हमें सुविधा देती है, मनुष्य के जीवन में सुख लाती है। बहुत सारी, आज भी हम लोग यहाँ आराम से बैठे हैं। सो देर इज़ अ लॉट ऑफ कंट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ न्यूअर एंड न्यूअर टेक्नोलॉजीज़। अभी आजीष जी मुझे बता रहे थे कि हॉल को कौन सी टेक्नोलॉजीज़ को कैसे उपयोग करके कैसे कैसे बनाया है। डेफिनेटली हम यहाँ सब बैठे हैं, इट हैज़ कॉन्ट्रीब्यूटेड वेरी वेल। लेकिन अब उनकी पद्धति और गति कैसे हो, स्पीड कैसे हो, ये बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है। अगर वो ऑर्गेनिक न हो और वो केवल मार्केट के भरोसे अगर वो टेक्नोलॉजीज डेवलप होती चली जाए, मैं कुछ लोगों को कहता हूँ प्रोवोकेटिव टेक्नोलॉजी, मतलब कुछ टेक्नोलॉजीज ऐसी है कि जो मनुष्य को प्रोवोकेट करती है, आपको उसकी तरफ अट्रैक्ट कर लेती है, मतलब जो ज़रूरी नहीं है उसके लिए भी आपको अट्रैक्ट करती है और आपको आगे बढ़ाती है। तो अगर पिछले 300-400 वर्षों का अगर हमने पूरे दुनिया का इतिहास देखा तो ये बात ध्यान में आती है कि लोगों ने टेक्नोलॉजीज आती चली गई, उसके अनुसार मार्केट डेवलप होते चले गए, प्रोडक्शन चेन भी उसी के अनुसार बनती चली गई। हमारी मार्केट की चेन, ट्रेडिंग, हमारी पूरी सिविलाइजेशनल और कल्चरल जो बातें हैं वो उसके अनुसार एडजस्ट होती चली गई। ये केवल भारत में नहीं, दुनिया के हर देश में हुआ। आप किसी भी देश के लिटरेचर को पढ़ेंगे तो उसमें इस बारे में लोगों की जो पीड़ाएं हैं वो उसमें व्यक्त हुई है। आप अमेरिका में पढ़ लीजिए, यूरोप में पढ़ लीजिए, कहीं भी दुनिया के किसी भी देश में। आप जापान के 300 साल के लिटरेचर को अगर क्रमशः देखेंगे तो ये बात ध्यान में आएगी। और इसीलिए ये बात की चर्चा भी होती गई, लेकिन लगातार ये बात होती भी चली गई। और इसलिए दुनिया के बहुत सारे देशों ने अपने जो परिवार, अपनी व्यवस्था, अपने रिश्ते, जीने के तरीके, अपनी इन्वायरमेंट के बारे में अपनी जो दृष्टि थी उसके साथ लोग कॉम्प्रोमाइज़ करते चले गए। और सिविलाइजेशन की डेवलपमेंट होते होते हमारी कल्चरल और बहुत सारी वैल्यूज़ बदलती चली गई। किसी देश में कम बदली, किसी देश में ज़्यादा बदली। और वो वैल्यूज़ बदलते 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 वेस्ट के वोकिज़म तक आ गई। अब कई लोग सोचते हैं कि इकोनॉमी एंड कल्चर का कोई रिलेशन है कि नहीं है। बहुत सारा रिलेशन है। इकोनॉमी और कल्चर ये बहुत एक दूसरे से जुड़े हुए हैं और इसीलिए वो बहुत सारे देशों में ऐसा होता चला गया। हम भारत भी उससे बाहर नहीं है, लेकिन पिछले 200, 300, 400 वर्षों में भारत का रोल उतना इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं रहा क्योंकि हम पॉलिटिकली इंडिपेंडेंट नहीं थे। और पॉलिटिकल इंडिपेंडेंस वेरी मच मैटर फॉर द इकोनॉमिक इश्यूज। अगर आप पॉलिटिकली इंडिपेंडेंट नहीं है तो आप इकोनॉमिक डिसीजंस भी नहीं ले सकते। और उस कारण से ये सारी जो प्रक्रिया चली 300 वर्षों में, 400 वर्षों में, उसमें भारत का डिसिजिव रोल बहुत कम था। और उस कारण से जो दिशा बनती चली गई, बनती गई, चलती गई। और आज हम लोग सब, हमारे कल्चरल वैल्यूज़ क्या होगी, हमारी फैमिली कैसी चलेगी, हमारा अर्बन लाइफ कैसे होगा, हमारी इकोनॉमिक साइकिल्स क्या होगी, ये मतलब कौन क्या कहाँ जाएगा, कहाँ कौन सा बिजनेस करेगा, क्या करेगा, एवरीथिंग हमारी मार्केट्स और नई टेक्नोलॉजी डिसीजन कर रही है। एंड दैट इज़ नॉट फेयर। तो डिसीजन तो ह्यूमन इंटेलिजेंस को करना है। इसलिए कल्चर विल टेक द चॉइस ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी या टेक्नोलॉजी विल चूज डिसाइड द आवर कल्चर एंड आवर सिविलाइजेशन। ये बड़ा एक मेजर क्वेश्चन आज इकोनॉमिक प्रॉस्पेरिटी में जब भारत आया है तब है। अब लेकिन एक सिचुएशन बदल गई है। अब हम लोग उस स्थिति में है कि हम लोग तय कर सकते, हम लोगों का एक इम्पॉर्टेंट रोल है अब एक भारत की इकोनॉमी में और वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक अफेयर्स में, क्योंकि हम दुनिया में एक तरीके से हमारा साइज ऑफ पॉपुलेशन, साइज ऑफ इकोनॉमी हमारा बड़ा है। हमारे पास भी आज के मॉडर्न ज़माने की जो इकोनॉमिक इंस्टीट्यूशंस है वो आज हमारे पास भी है। उसी के एक उदाहरण के रूप में एनएससी के कैंपस में हम लोग बैठे हुए हैं। ये वर्ल्ड के मतलब जो टॉप मोस्ट इंस्टीट्यूशंस है उसके बराबरी का हमारा ये इंस्टीट्यूट है। इसलिए हम लोग ऐसा नहीं कि हम लोग दुनियादारी जो चल रही है उसमें हम पीछे नहीं हैं। अब इस समय हमारे लिए बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है कि यस, क्या हम लोग उसी को फॉलो करते चले जाएंगे या हम जिस सिविलाइजेशन से आते हैं, जिस परंपरा से आते हैं, एक धार्मिक परंपरा से आते हैं, उसमें हम उसके अनुसार ये इकोनॉमिक शेपिंग में हमारा कोई रोल होगा। ये एक बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट जो प्रश्न हमारे सामने आज की तारीख में है और मुझे लगता है उस पर विचार करना ज़रूरी है। कई लोग सोचते हैं, मैं कई बार उदाहरण देता हूँ, कई लोग सोचते हैं कि हमारे कल्चरल वैल्यूज़ और इकोनॉमिक प्रॉस्पेरिटी अर्बनाइजेशन का क्या संबंध है। मैं कई बार सोचता हूँ अमेरिका में आजकल 2.5 लोग एक घर में रहते हैं। हमारे देश में लगभग 5.5 का एवरेज है, एक घर में 5.5 इतने लोग हमारे फैमिली में रहते हैं। अब आप सोच लीजिए कि हमारे 150 करोड़ लोग अगर है हमारे, तो लगभग हम लोगों को मतलब हम लोग 5 लोग अगर हैं तो हम लोग 150 करोड़ लोग 30 करोड़ घरों में हम लोग रह सकते हैं। अगर 30 करोड़ घरों की जगह हमारा एवरेज अगर 2.5 हो गया, जैसे हम लोगों का कल्चरल वैल्यूज़, इकोनॉमिक प्रॉस्पेरिटी जिस तरीके से हमारी है और वो निगेटिव ग्रोथ हमारी कल्चरल वैल्यूज़ की दृष्टि से अगर करती रही तो और हमें आने वाले समय में 30 करोड़ घर लगेंगे और ज़्यादा, क्योंकि अभी 30 करोड़ हैं हमारे, लगभग 28 पॉइंट समथिंग हाउस होल्ड्स हैं। नहीं, नेक्स्ट अगर हमारा इसी दिशा में हम गए, हमारी इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट उसी तरीके से गई तो हम लोगों को और 30 करोड़ घर लगेंगे। आप लोग मुझे लगता है बहुत एक्सपर्ट है, कैलकुलेट कर लीजिए फिर हमें क्या क्या लगेगा, एनवायरनमेंट का क्या होगा, इकोनॉमी का क्या होगा, प्रॉस्पेरिटी का क्या होगा, वैल्यूज़ का क्या होगा, सोसाइटी का क्या होगा, मतलब बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस हैं। और इसीलिए हम लोगों को ये दोनों का कोई मेल बनाना ही पड़ेगा। ये हाईवे की तरह है, हमें एकदम यू टर्न नहीं कर सकते हैं। हाईवेज पे होता है ना, लगभग 50 किलोमीटर 20 किलोमीटर जाकर फिर टर्न ले सकते हैं। तो हम लोग अब चल पड़े हैं उस पर, इमीडिएट कोई टर्न नहीं है, बट हम अपने दिमाग में अगर ये बातें रखते हैं कि हमें किस दिशा में जाना है, किस प्रकार से कार्य करना है, तो हम इसमें से रास्ते बना पाएंगे। उदाहरण के तौर पर हम नई टेक्नोलॉजीज नई ऐसी ला सकते हैं जिसमें हमारा प्रोडक्शन डिसेंट्रलाइज होगा। आज रोज़गार की बहुत चर्चा दुनिया भर में हो रही है, हमारे देश में भी होती है, क्योंकि और हमारे देश में तो वर्किंग यूथ पॉपुलेशन बहुत बड़ी है। और इसलिए हमें ये सोचना ही पड़ेगा कि हमारी इकोनॉमिक प्रॉस्पेरिटी शुड मैच विद द अपॉर्चुनिटीज टू द यंगस्टर्स। दीनदयाल जी कहते थे प्रोडक्शन बाय मास प्रोडक्शन की जगह वो कहते थे प्रोडक्शन बाय द मासेस। दिस वेरी की वर्ड इज वेरी रिलेवेंट फॉर टुडे। और इसलिए उस दृष्टि से हम लोग इस बात को, नई टेक्नोलॉजी जब हम लेंगे, नई टेक्नोलॉजीज़ में जहां हम इन्वेस्ट करेंगे वो टेक्नोलॉजीज़ वैसी हो कि बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं डिसेंट्रलाइज तरीके से उसी क्वालिटी की उसी तरह से हम लोग बना सकते हैं। और इसलिए हमारा मॉडल एक की जगह कुछ कोर होंगे, डिफेंस वगैरह कुछ कोर सेक्टर होंगे जिसका प्रोडक्शन हमें सेंट्रली करना पड़ेगा। उसकी एक अलग तरीके की टेक्नोलॉजी है, सिक्रेसी है, बहुत सारी बातें होती है। लेकिन जो रोज़ की हमारी बहुत सारी चीज़ें होती है उसके प्रोडक्शन हम डिसेंट्रलाइज कर सकते हैं। तो माइग्रेशन बचेगा, लोगों का माइग्रेशन बचेगा। ये ट्रांसपोर्टेशन, हमारे रोड्स अभी इतने हाईवे बना दिए, उसके बाद भी वो हाईवेज भी पूरे भरे हैं। ट्रेन्स पहले हमारे मुंबई, गोवा से मुंबई या साउथ से मुंबई आते थे, ट्रक्स आते थे। बाद में अभी रेलवे बन गई, रेलवे में वैगन्स लगती है, पूरी ट्रेन आती है भर के। अभी कई सारे ट्रक ट्रेन पे चढ़ाकर लेके आते हैं, फिर भी चल ही रहा है मतलब ट्रांसपोर्टेशन। तो ध्यान में आता है कि बहुत सारा ऐसा ट्रांसपोर्टेशन है जो माल वहीं बन सकता था, वो भी कई 1000 किलोमीटर दूर से आ रहा है। तो ये मुझे लगता है इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा कोई बैकवर्डनेस नहीं है, कोई बहुत ज़्यादा बुद्धि की आवश्यकता नहीं है, वेरी सिंपल पॉलिसीज़ है। तो मुझे लगता है कि आने वाले समय में इन बातों के बारे में सोचना ज़रूरी है। यही एक धर्म की पद्धति होगी जिसमें फेयरनेस होगा। सबको अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलेगी पार्टिसिपेट करने की, सब लोग प्रोडक्शन का हिस्सा बनेंगे, सब लोगों को इकोनॉमी मिलेगी। दुनिया भर में लगभग 100 साल पहले कम्युनिज्म का उपयोग हुआ फेयरनेस लाने के लिए, बट वो फेयरनेस लाने का तरीका जो था कम्युनिज्म का बिजनेस में या वेल्थ डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन में, वो इतना खतरनाक था, जैसे हम हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना कि बीमारी से दवा ज़्यादा खतरनाक हो गई, और दुनिया भर में इसका बहुत विपरीत परिणाम हुआ। इसलिए एक धार्मिक पद्धति, एक प्रॉपर वेल्थ डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की दुनिया की आवश्यकता है। कैपिटल जो भी एक सारी मार्केट इकोनॉमी आई, उसने भी दुनिया में कई देशों को गरीब कर दिया, कई देशों को शोषण करने वाले, कई देशों को शोषण जिनका होता है ऐसे बना दिया। तो इस बात से एक धार्मिक तरीके से, बिना किसी संघर्ष के, शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से, बिना किसी नुकसान से इसके रास्ते धार्मिक पद्धति से निकाले जा सकते हैं। और मुझे लगता है कि अब भारत जो है उस स्थिति में है कि हम एक इम्पॉर्टेंट रोल इसमें निभा सकते हैं। तो उस दृष्टि से विचार करना, सोचना और उस प्रकार से निश्चित रूप से गहराई से चिंतन करना बहुत ज़रूरी है। आज ऑर्गेनाइज़र ने इसके मूलभूत विषय को जब दुनिया भर में पूरे इंटरनेशनल ट्रेड की चर्चा हो रही है, उस समय इस मूल बात को इन्होंने विषय के रूप में लिया। और निश्चित रूप से आज दिन भर में बहुत सारे विद्वज्जन आने वाले हैं, तो अच्छी चर्चा होगी और निश्चित रूप से उसमें से कई अच्छे विषय निकल कर आएंगे, ये मेरा विश्वास है। मैं सभी को पुनः एक बार अभिवादन करता हूँ और शुभकामना देता हूँ। नमस्ते।
Thank you, Sunil ji. I'll again request audience member to give him a huge round of applause. Thank you, Sunil ji, for your enriching session on the development model, Dharmic model of development in the contemporary times. The session was also enriching for us as he took us to the idea of Ekatma Manav Darshan propounded by Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay ji. I believe we all are certain that we will attain Ram Rajya in our journey to Viksit Bharat 2047. Ladies and gentlemen, we are also joined by, okay. So this brings to the end of inaugural session. I'll request Shri Praful Ketkar sir to kindly felicitate Sunil ji on behalf of organizer. We also have Ratan ji with us. Please, sir, join us on stage. Ashish ji will felicitate. I'll kindly request Praful Ketkar sir and Ashish ji to please be seated on stage only. This brings us to the beginning of our session 1. Start.
Our first session is titled Ekatma Manav Darshan, Eternal, Still Contemporary. This philosophy, propounded by Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay in 1965, continues to guide Bharat's path in 21st century. Joining us for this discussion are two eminent personalities. First, Sri S. Gurumurthy ji, editor of Tughlaq magazine, a renowned economist and commentator known for his deep insights on India's economy and culture. And the other guest is Sri Ashish Chauhan ji, CEO of National Stock Exchange India, whose leadership in financial sector is a testimony to Atmanirbhar Bharat in action. I now request the moderator for this session, Sri Praful Ketkar ji, to take over this session from here.
Thank you. I hope Shri Gurumurthy ji is there online. Unfortunately, he had to be in Pondicherry today, but he is addressing us online. So the idea is to contextualize the entire Ekatma Manav Darshan in the present world. So I request respected Gurumurthy ji to address. Before that, there will be a short video of Gurumurthy ji's introduction that will be played. So, AV please.
Sri S. Gurumurthy ji is a distinguished economist, journalist, and public intellectual, widely regarded as one of India's foremost voices on economic and public policy issues rooted in Bharatiya civilizational thought. A chartered accountant by profession, Sri Gurumurthy has advised leading corporate houses and policy institutions over decades, while also contributing prolifically to public discourse through his writings and lectures. He serves as the editor of the Tamil political and economic weekly Tughlaq and is a part-time director on the board of the Reserve Bank of India, bringing his deep understanding of Indian enterprise and financial systems to the country's apex institutions. As a prominent advocate of self-reliant economic models rooted in Indian ethos, he has been a strong proponent of Swadeshi economics and played an influential role in shaping public opinion and policy debates. We welcome Sri S. Gurumurthy ji to Arthayam.
Thank you and welcome Gurumurthy ji for sparing your time. And now I request you to kindly address the audience. Shri Ashish Chauhan ji, who is MD of National Stock Exchange, is here with me. So after you, he will be briefly address the audience. So welcome and over to you, Gurumurthy ji.
Thank you, Praful ji. And I heard Sunil ji's speech, in which one of the points which I wanted to make has already figured, and it will be easy for me to continue with that later. And Ashish ji, it's unfortunate that this is not a subject of my love, Ekatma Manav Darshan. It is a subject of my reverence. This is not a subject which I studied as an academic or theoretical issue. This is something which I experienced on the ground. And I would never have understood Ekatma Manava Darshan by any amount of reading. I would have read it 100 times. But it is my involvement with the Swadeshi Jagaran Manch at the instance of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh in 1992 that made me understand how the Indian society's actual is consistent with and is based on and is founded in Ekatma Manava Darshan. It is not a theory to be realized. It is not a goal to be attained. It is actually understanding the way India is functioning. That is what I would like to share with you. And also give evidence. I am not one of those who speaks without proper foundational facts. The experience of the Bharatiya society and civilization and history, and in tune with how the Indian civilization has been functioning for the last 5,000 years, is basically a must to understand Ekatma Manava Darshan, because Ekatma Manava Darshan is a juice of all this with Pandit Deendayal Upadhyaya had conceptualized in 4 lectures and gave it to us. And so it is not easy to understand Ekatma Manava Darshan merely by reading it. In fact, as someone who has been very keen to study the cross-civilizational position of the world, the economy, the history, I have studied the Western social developmental model in the 17th and 18th and even 19th centuries. A person who came somewhat close to Ekatma Manava Darshan, Pandit Deendayal ji, was Emil Durkheim. In fact, it is a forgotten name in Western sociology. It is Karl Marx and Adam Smith and Max Weber who are remembered. But it is Emil Durkheim who felt and who argued and who adumbrated the view that there has to be a series of intermediary institutions to connect the individual with the distant state, for even the state to function, for the economy to function, for the people to work together. He only thought of an integrality. But the Western society basically ceased to be integral after the church came and broke up the traditional societies. And in fact, people like Wordsworth keep on writing about it. Where is my shopwala with whom I used to move with, and things like that. All the relation-based way of functioning of the West collapsed with industrialization. So the West was grasping with how to build up human relationship. It was becoming contractual. People like Spencer or Miller or anyone, later Max Weber, all of them were trying to see how the Western model will be based on individualism. And then the West began arguing for it all over the world. And that is how the modern economics developed on the base of individualism, because the West lost all the relation-based lifestyle. So I recall Emil Durkheim. After 100 years, he was recalled by Francis Fukuyama in 1994, when he wrote the book called The Trust, where he said, relation-based society is a must even to handle a contract-based market economy. So Robert Putnam called it social capital. You see, intellectual capital belongs to the person who has the brain. Financial capital belongs to the person who has the money. Social capital doesn't belong to anybody. It belongs to the society. And a person is only a component of the society. Anybody, whether it is community or family or the individual, is only a beneficiary of it. Nobody owns social capital. This is what Robert Putnam said. And from then on, the idea of social capital began taking roots parallelly with the market economy, but it has not still taken roots in the manner in which it should have taken roots, because in the West, social capital is a lost cause. And fortunately, we have social capital, because social capital is normative. It is not based on law, it is not based on rules, it is not based on dictation, it is not based on hierarchy. It is based on shared values. And that we call as dharma. And the entire discourse of Deendayal Upadhyaya about the integrality of human life, whether it is among human beings or between the human beings and the collective, or the individuals and the state, or the people as a whole, humans as a whole with nature, it is all integral, interconnected. It cannot be looked at in silos and compartments. If we have to understand Deendayal Upadhyaya and integral humanism, we have to give up the idea of silo-based approach. Even as subjects, economics, sociology, philosophy, statecraft, they are not silos. They are all integrated. This is what Deen Dayalji explains. And with this, I would like to talk about two things which distinguished both Deen Dayalji and Mahatma Gandhi. These two persons were not arrested by the context. Everybody was arrested by the context. Socialism arrested them, Westernization arrested them. When Westernization arrested, Mahatma Gandhi wrote his Hind Swaraj book, in which he says the Western civilization is evil. A man, a moderate man, a spiritualist person, using a very harsh word. And he said that that civilization, if it spreads, it is going to spread evil in the world. And he expounded Swadeshi, which is not the alternative viewpoint, but is a functioning viewpoint. Many people think Swadeshi is something which we have to realize. No. Swadeshi is the way we actually function. And that is what I realized when I began working for the Swadeshi Jagran Manch. I cast aside all that I learned as a financial professional, as someone who had something to do with macroeconomics, as someone who had to do with corporates or politics. I cast aside all that to understand from the way the Indian society functioned as to what is Swadeshi. I will expand on it a little later. Likewise, Deen Dayal Upadhyaya was not arrested by the context. When he was speaking about integral humanism, it was sin to talk against socialism. In fact, I came into public life as a young man much after Deen Dayalji expounded his integral humanism. And in 1970s, to speak against socialism was considered to be not only a sin, but to be part of the American orbit. We were all called CIA agents in 1970s by the government, particularly by Mrs. Gandhi, when we talked against socialism. Anyone who talked against socialism was talking against the people, talking against equality, talking against modernity. This was the situation in which Deen Dayalji expounded integral humanism. He was not arrested by the context of socialism because he felt it was a passing phase. Only a saint, a seer, a far-sighted man could have felt that this is a comma, this is not a full stop. And it proved so, not only at the global level, even in India, the constitution still contains the word socialism, but I don't think there is any meaning to it. So the greatest contribution of Deen Dayalji is that one should transcend the context and should not be arrested by it. If you are arrested by the context, you are like any political party. Every political party is arrested by the context of the elections, which comes on every year now. And no one is able to think about what will happen to the country 25 years later. The entire Western way of life has reduced the shelf life of contemporary ideas. I'll give you first, colonialism lasted for 200 years. Mercantile capitalism lasted for 100 years. Socialism lasted for 50 years. And globalization lasted for 25 years. We don't know where we are going to, so you can understand how the shelf life of human endeavors, ideas, or ideologies are crashing because we are becoming short-termist. In fact, after the 2008 economic crisis in America, there was a discussion about why America had stagnated and even failed and even falling as compared to, say, China. The answer was China was a long-term player and US became a short-term player. It is not only annual balance sheets became relevant. Ashish Chavanji is sitting there. Quarterly results have become so important. Quarterly results were forged to create share market values. That is what caused the collapse of 2008 stock market and financial market. And today, overnight interest decide the mood of financial market. So you can understand how human life has been shortened and shortened and shortened because people are arrested by the context. Deen Dayal Upadhyaya transcended the context, just like Mahatma Gandhi did. And all nation builders, all our seers and saints, they transcended the context and felt that these ups and downs will always be there, but you have to look beyond to understand how to live so that your next generation, the generation later. In fact, this was understood even by economists in America. One Barry Bobsworth, who was the Brookings Institution economist, came out with a paper in 2007 that the Americans save for themselves. It is personal savings. But Asians have dynastic savings. They save for their grandsons. You can understand the long-term view of Asian way of life, of which the main protagonist, proponent, and evangelizer is India. Remove India from Asia. There is no Asian philosophy. So the Indian civilization way of life gave us a long-term perspective even today, because the society, family, and the connected individual lives as a long-term idea. The state may live on a short-term idea. Political parties may live on a short-term idea. But the society, Indian society, lives with a long-term outlook. And that is where we need to understand how integral humanism functions, which I will explain immediately. See, it is not only among human beings, between nature and humans, also there is an integrality. Isavasya Upanishad says, Isavasya midam sarvam yatkinjat jagatyam jagati tena tektena punjidaha ma grata kasya suddhanam. Simply translated, everything belongs to one source of energy. It is Ishvara. You call it divine, you call it nature, you call it eternal, you call it anything. It all belongs to, everything that you have belongs and comes from one source. You must take as little as possible from it so that balance is available to others. Whether it is environment, whether it is money, whether it is gold, whether it is anything. Economics, nature, environment are zero-sum game. So we have to understand that integral humanism is not a subject of human beings alone. It starts with individuals, merges into the family, consolidates into society, transforms into nation, aggregates to the world, and connects to the Parameshti. Vyashti, Samashti, Parameshti. In that, the Samashti concept has not been grasped by any society because they have lost it. As Emile Durkheim said, as Robert Putnam said, as even Francis Fukuyama bemoaned, it is relations that makes the samashti. Relations make the family. The family and the individual relationship make up the society. And the representative of the society is the state. This is what Deen Dayal ji meant when he said Vyashti, Samashti, Parameshti. And it is, I will explain in just 4 ways. One already Sunil ji has dealt with. I will integrate it at an appropriate point. How this integrality is only making India functional. I will just take the food style of Indians. You know, we have only 2.4% of global land area, just 2.4% of global land area. We have 18% of human population. We have 30% of bovine population. We have 42% of cattle population. We have 8% bioresources. How is it that we are able to maintain such a huge amount of beings, living beings, consuming beings, with such a small piece of land? America is 3.5 times the same size of India, but its bovine population is 1/5, cattle population is 1/5. The same case with China. Not only that even when we did not have food in 1960s, I had gone through the statistics. The human population, cattle population kept rising. We didn't need the cattle. We didn't need the bovine. What is the secret? The secret is the Rishi-Krishi combination. Deen Dayal ji knew the Rishi-Krishi combination, and that is why he connected the contemporary life to a higher view of life. I am going to explain to you now. You know, most people are unaware that cereals give us 83% of the calorie value and meat gives only 17%. And cereals give 37% of the 63% of the protein value, and meat gives only 37% of the protein value. What does that mean? It is because cereals give a huge amount of calories as well as proteins. In India, we adjusted the food habits in such a way that we eat more cereal and less meat. Our cereal consumption and meat consumption, if you compare, our cereal consumption is almost 180 to 185 kgs per head per annum, whereas the meat consumption is only 3.1. It was 5.1, sorry, 3.5. It was 5.1 in 2001, and it has got reduced to 3.5. I will not go into the causes. It is because of the huge surge in the spiritual organizations who have begun emphasizing more on cereals that we have been able to produce more cereal, give more calories, more protein. So we were able to satisfy a large population with a small piece of land. Our agricultural land is just 1% of 10% of world's 10.2% agricultural land. Out of the entire world surface area, only 27% is land. Out of that, 10% is agricultural land. Out of that, 1% India has. And it is able to do this great wonder of feeding the entire population because our rishis found out that it is only in cereals you have more calories, more protein, and this may look an abstract thing to you. You look at what will happen if we Indians give up our way of food style and take to the American food style. Americans eat 124 kgs of meat per head per annum. We eat 3.1. If we shift to the American way of life, we will need 6 times the agricultural land we have. And the size of India will have to be 2.5 times the size it is today. See the vast difference. This lifestyle, it is not that we are vegetarians only. 1/3, almost 37% of, only 37% of Indians are supposed to be vegetarians. Some even say 31%. So it is almost 70% to 30% between vegetarians and non-vegetarians. But here non-vegetarianism is sabji. It is not the main food. We don't grow animals by feeding corn to them. That is American way of life. So we must understand that our rishis, our saints, our seers conceived a way of life which promoted cereal eating, which discounted meat eating. Even non-vegetarians will not eat meat on a certain day, on a Friday, or on a Saturday, or on a Monday, or on Amavasya, or Ekadashi. In South, there is a custom during the entire 1 month, which is dedicated to Lord Balaji. Nobody eats non-vegetarian. This is a self-restraint which the saints and seers and our great forefathers built in. It may look religious, but its impact is on the food security of India. If India gives up the proportion between meat and cereal, nothing can guarantee food security for India. The entire American land cultivated for India will not feed India. Second point. Meat produces 10 to 100 times more CO2 gas emission as compared to cereals. If all Indians begin eating the way the Americans eat, there can be no agreement on your global climate. the climate agreement will go for a 6. How many people have related this to our contribution to climate comfort by restraining the consumption of meat and enhancing the consumption of cereals? Is the first point. The second point is what Sunilji mentioned. We are today 4.5 persons is the number of persons per household. And if it gets reduced to 2.5 persons per household, as in America, we will need 135 million more houses. In America, the number came down from 3 to 2.5, which meant an additional investment of $8.5 trillion for 35 million houses. If we need 135 million houses, there will be no India. We don't have space. The environment will go for a 6. We don't have the money. What makes us live together? It is again sharing. The individual shares his space, shares his comfort, shares his yearnings with the family. The larger family. According to the State Bank of India Economic Research Study, 80% of the parents live with their sons or daughters. If they have to live alone, you can't provide social security for them. That is my third point, which I will come to later, for the simple purpose of how elderly people are maintained in India, not as economic burden, but with respect. Where does this spirit come from? It is a civilizational virtue. It has been ingrained in our education, in our religion, in our morals, in our traditional way of life. It is continuing for thousands of years. So, can you say this is social security? This is housing? This is food style? And where I am going to come to the next third point is social security. In America in 1960, a revolution took place. The Americans felt that the society has become so atomized, it is better that the state takes care of the elders, and there is a small tax of 12.5% which the youngsters will pay, or everybody will pay, and that will take care of the elders, infirm people, unemployed people. So this became the concept of universal social security, into which the world is being evangelized for the last 40, 50 years. But in 1980, many American economists joined together. There is a book, US Economy in Transition, by the National Bureau of Economic Research, which is worth reading by any economist in India, but most economists do not read what mistakes the West commits. They only look at what the plus points of for the Western economy. And I am giving you what is the introspection, including Milton Friedman, who got the Nobel Prize for his monetary theory. All the economists said only one thing: don't interfere in the interpersonal, family, generational obligations of people. Don't take over this responsibility of maintaining parents universally. Of course, if somebody needs, give them some helping hand. But don't take over the burden of the elder generation from the younger generation. But the Americans did it. And first, as the population kept rising, many people who were paying tax, they were paying more tax. And the number of elderly people were less. And so there was less drawals from the Social Security account from 1960 to 2006. In 2006, it changed. Why? The population began declining. And the number of working people to the number of people who are elders, that changed. And so from 2006, the Social Security account began turning negative. Now they have calculated, if the future Social Security obligations are reduced into the present day value, there is a deficit of $63 trillion. This is about 4 years back. I don't know the latest figure. And that was 3 times the GDP of America. And it is a time bomb ticking under America. In India, you come to India. If all Indians decide to disown their responsibilities to their parents and say we are willing to pay 12.5% tax to the Prime Minister of the country, do you mean to say this country can be managed? Do you mean to say this is part of economic study, part of sociology, part of your education system? But everything works against it. Now there is elders' rights, parents' rights, students' rights. There is no sense of duty. Our entire civilization, Ekatma Manavvad, rests on duties. That's why Mahatma Gandhi refused to sign the Human Rights Declaration, which was sent in by Aldous Huxley and H.G. Wells in 1946. They said, please sign this UDHR. Mahatma Gandhi said, change the title from Universal Declaration of Human Rights into Human Duties. I will sign because duties include rights, rights exclude duties. But we are entirely discoursing on a rights-based society, atmosphere, economics, politics. But our society, family, everything lives according to duties. Your courts are interpreting rights. Judges do not talk about duties. Media doesn't talk about duties. Educational institutions do not talk about duties. But it is duties that is sustaining us. This is the message of Deen Dayalji. Our entire society rests on the idea of dharma. Maharishi Aurobindo said, dharma is the point at which the duties and rights merge. It is not that there is no right. Right and duties are complementary. They are two sides of the same coin. If you look at only right and destroy duty, you are actually destroying the very idea of society, civilization, the next generation. So what Barry Bobsworth said in 2007, that Asians save for their grandchildren, it is a sense of duty. Where he said that Americans save for themselves, it is a sense of right. So you can understand what is the huge difference between the Western paradigm about which we are studying, which attracts us, which runs National Stock Exchange, Bombay Stock Exchange, values. But the society functions according to the sense of duty, ingrained in the idea of dharma. I will only make one or two more points to drive home the idea as to what Deen Dayal Upadhyaya meant when he said there is a 1,000-year disruption in our integral way of life. We all know it was a political disruption about which Sunil ji mentioned. And there was a suspension in our civilizational journey, in our intellectualism, in our self-confidence took a beating. It required enormous efforts by great men, starting with even Kautilya, who came in contact with Alexander and felt that our war model, Dharmic war model, won't fit. We have to have a tit-for-tat war model, that we have to shape our war model in such a way that we match the enemy's propensities. And we shifted from valor to victory. That's the most important contribution of Kautilya. That valor is not important, victory is important. A message which Krishna gave, if you read Mahabharata carefully, every warrior in Mahabharata was only about his valor. Arjuna said he must kill Krishna. And Bhima said he should kill Duryodhana. They were all personal. The man who planned for Pandava's victory was not the Pandavas, but Krishna. He told King Kunti to go and talk to Karna to say that he was a Pandava. He made Karna give promises. He made Karna to give his kavach. Why? Because he was the only one strategizing for victory. This element was taken by Kautilya, who said Alexander is a person for whom you need a state, you need an army, you need a regular revenues. He changed the conception of the state itself. But when Kadambari Bana, always we had this problem of how to manage violence. state violence or individual violence. Kadambari Bana came in the 4th century in Bihar. He said this Kautilya is an adharmi because he has promoted wars. He has made people, kings have raised armies. Finally, all the Arthashastra books disappeared all over India. You know, only one copy escaped. That was in Tanjore. The Tanjore Maharaja gifted it to the Mysore Maharaja's library in 1909 and it got translated in 1912. Till then, that one person by name Kautilya existed and we had a great model of a state devised by Arthashastra was not known to anybody, either Indians or the Westerners. So, from that time onwards, from 4th century till Chhatrapati Shivaji came on the scene, we shifted back to valor and not victory. Victory, it was not our aim. You look at what Prithviraj Chauhan did. It's valor. That's more important. Chivalry, that is more important. You showed it to an enemy for whom only victory was important. As a result, India was conquered. So we had our own struggles, our intellectual failures in this 1,000 years, which Dindayalji mentioned as the period of suspension. Now, as Sunilji mentioned, the Indian civilization is rising not only because of the fact that we were able to secure political freedom, but we only secured political freedom, we didn't get civilizational freedom. The civilizational freedom came because of the Ram Janmabhoomi movement launched by the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. I was personally a witness, participant, contributory to that movement and I have seen how the whole civilization exploded. To realize its 1,000-year disconnect has landed India in a mess. And we recollected our past, not to win anybody, not to destroy anybody, not to conquer anybody, but to become what we are. And you see the consequence today, and I don't want to go more into how India has now become something which the world cannot but take notice of. And even Trump, who went about thinking that he could crush India orally and by his actions, has moderated. You know why? It is because of the civilizational rise of India. Normally, an America swearing at India like that would have made the Indian institutions, Indian government, Indian polity, Indian media, Indian intellectuals tremble. But nobody bothered. This rise of India is reinstituting our values. And I will only recollect how we were failures. Our intellectual failure is because we relied on short-term sociologists and tried to misjudge India. One was Karl Marx, who in 1853 wrote 2 articles in New York Herald Tribune and said that India is a society which lives in villages. Each village is a republic, and the distance between the consumer and the producer is so little, there is no exploitation. In fact, he said it is primitive socialism. But he said India is a country which has not changed for the last 2,000 years. People live very stably. With the result, India is not capable of revolution, and without revolution, India cannot progress. And it is worshipping cows and monkeys, and it is semi-barbaric. And so, even though the Indian society and economy is being destroyed by the British, which is sad, the British is doing the right thing. The sadness in the destruction is also matched by the happiness in the result that it would come, that India would be prepared for revolution. They couldn't understand the Indian society. Marx could not understand the Indian society. He never read in Indian literature, never met an Indian, never came to India. He sat somewhere and wrote something, but that dominated the Indian intellectualism. Then came Max Weber. Max Weber, He was the one who theorized how Protestant religion or the Protestant church is the one that is promoting prosperity, which is true. So far as his study was concerned, all Protestant nations, whether it is America, whether it is Australia, England, or New Zealand, or all the Protestant nations were rising, all the Catholic nations were lagging behind. And so he said Protestant Christian values alone can produce initiative. It can alone yield entrepreneurship, which is a must in a capitalist society. And even Catholic religion is incapable of producing that kind of result. He was right, because for 30 years the man studied the Christian society. But suddenly he wrote 2 books. One on the religion of Hinduism and one on the religion of Buddhism. And he said these 2 societies can never come up, India and China, because they believe in karma and rebirth, which do not promote individualism and entrepreneurship. Our sociology departments, our planning ministry, our education system, our IAS training officers, their entire idea was shaped by these 2 great men. I have researches which I can show, which I don't want to cite here, that if any 2 individual scholars in the West who influenced post-independence India, it is Karl Marx and Max Weber. But the historians, Will Durant and Arnold Toynbee, they said India is the hope for the world. Why? Because they were not arrested by the context. They looked at from a helicopter perspective and saw India can manage turbulence. It can overcome invasions. And it still is able to preserve its soul, which I witnessed when I went to Kumbh Mela and stayed there for 3 days. I was just looking at the people. 67 crore people came there. Even if you put some plus and minus, 60 crore people came there. That is the consciousness of India. Nobody invited. They didn't even know where they will eat. They came with children, they came with the elders. This is the bottom upward civilization. That is what Deen Dayal ji meant. That is what I experienced. But you look at America today, it is a top-down civilization. All the Western countries are top-down. Few people created those countries. In fact, before the 19th century, 18th century, definitely there was no state. The state-society relationship so got established. Arun Shourie has written it beautifully, that the nation-state got created only in the 19th century. See America, I will close with my remark as to what's happening in America. In 2020, the Pew Research, it brought out a paper which said that America is polarized, and polarized very badly. In fact, 65% of the Republicans will not marry into Democrats' families, and vice versa. Families are getting divided, localities are getting divided, churches are getting divided on the basis of one party or the other. And Pew Research says it is not something very new for a democracy. It always happens. But the problem is, America doesn't have a commonality. How many people know there are 30,000 canonized saints in Italy? There are just 3 in America. No sacred land. There is no sacred river. There is no sacred person. There is no sacred mountain. There is nothing which is commonly sacred. This is the problem of America. In 2022, 5 defense secretaries and 6 army chiefs wrote a letter to the Pentagon that in 2024, if Trump or Trump-like figure contests the American elections and loses, there will be civil war in America. It will not be at the border. It will be within the family, within the locality, based on color, religion, race. You look at the bottom upward civilization of India. The top can get disturbed, it can change, it remains. Because it is an integrated society. We have to understand integral humanism in a larger sense. This is what Deen Dayal Upadhyaya communicated in just 4 lectures. I'm very happy that this is being taken up, but it should be taken up just as not merely an techno-economic concept, the larger concept as a civilizational idea. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Guru Murthy ji. That was really thought-provoking, and I'm sure you have plenty of ideas, but unfortunately, we have a limited time, and we would have liked you to be physically here, and sometime we will definitely host you again because I don't want to stop it here. We are fortunate to have Shri Mangal Prabhat Lodha ji, who is a known figure in Mumbai. I need not introduce Lodha ji, but he's also skill development minister, and recently I'm really happy that he made a special announcement that when it comes to the skill development ministry, only Indian agencies will get preference doing consultancy for policy making. We also have the local member of parliament, Milind Devraji, will be there in the next session with us. But before, I'll invite Mangalji also for briefly. But before that, I would like Ashish ji to make his remarks about resilience of our Indian economy in the present context, and then we will call Shri Mangal Prabhat Lodha ji.
Sri Ashish Kumar Chauhan is a pioneering technocrat, visionary market reformer, and the current managing director and CEO of the National Stock Exchange of India. An alumnus of IIT Bombay and IIM Calcutta, he was part of the founding team of NSE and is credited with transforming the Indian capital markets through a series of groundbreaking innovations like setting up of India's first screen-based trading system and introducing mobile trading, to launching the Nifty Index, derivatives trading, SME share markets, satellite telecom networks, and mutual fund distribution through exchanges. Widely regarded as the father of modern financial derivatives in India, his contributions have reshaped the landscape of Indian financial markets. Before taking charge at NSE in 2022, Sri Chauhan served as the MD and CEO of the Bombay Stock Exchange for a decade, leading it through a period of historic transformation. He has also held senior leadership roles in the Reliance Group as Group CIO and as the CEO of the Mumbai Indians IPL franchise in its formative years. Beyond the corporate world, he contributes to academia and policy as a member of the University Grants Commission, Chancellor of the University of Allahabad, and board member at IIM Calcutta and several other premier institutions. A celebrated leader in the global financial community, Sri Chauhan has been honored with numerous awards in India and abroad, including CEO of the Year by Asia Asset Management, Most Influential CEO by CEO Monthly, and the Lifetime Achievement Award from Global Custodian in Singapore. We welcome Sri Ashish Kumar Chauhan to Arthayam.
Thank you. It's a pleasure and honor to be in front of you once again. And since time is short, I will try to be brief on the subject. I think in some ways Sunilji talked about that stock market people don't understand, so people have to be trained. And it is like driving a car or even doing medicine as a doctor or any other skill. You need to be trained. But as a concept, what is a stock market? And I will borrow from Guru Murthyji's concept of social capital. He mentioned about social capital. And for me, the social capital is about trust. Trust of people into something else. Of course, your trust into yourself, and then you trust the nature, you trust the society, you trust other people. And so, how the stock markets work is very simple, but in some ways it's not that intuitive. When we do any activity, any commercial activity, the natural activity is basically you start a business, you become an artisan, you start producing something, and that product is required by somebody else, and that's what we call proprietorship. You do things on your own, and it's a proprietor. And then if you want to do a larger business, your friends, your colleagues, you take them into your fold and you say, let's become partners. And that is also natural because humans are easy, I mean, they cooperate with each other most times. And so that is the partnership thing. And so you had for time immemorial things which were either on proprietorship basis or on partnership basis. And then larger and larger businesses came up. 2000 years back, 1500 years back also, India used to have Sangha, which used to be collective of people, which would take voyage to Indonesia or Malaysia or other places on the east side, on west side to Iran, to other places. And they used to do trading as collective, not as individuals. It was a different way of getting sort of society formed. And then they will, of course, do trading, come back, and that wealth will be divided into the society. And all other societies are also trying similarly. But there were issues on how do we make profits, or how do we make even larger organizations. And that is where the Europe in 15th, 16th century, they started working on creating newer methods of getting together. Because you have to do large businesses, you required large resources to start, and you had to take money from lots of other partners. So a lot of partners came together, and then a new framework called company came up. So our sanghas were an older form of companies, and there are in Sangam literature and all, there are ways of, I mean, they have actually described how this things worked. But overall, they also used to have guilds. Europe used to have guilds, which were very similar to our sort of caste-based structures and things like that. But I mean, I have a long story to tell, and I'm a teacher, so I can take you like 40-hour course on one thing. But basically, why I'm telling you this is that stock market is about becoming partners into business. Business in which you have no say. If you are a partner, normally you have a say. Here, they created a framework where the partners are different. People who are running that organization is different. And they call it legal fiction. They created a corporate which has owners different from the agents who run it. And that is where, other than that, it's basically large partnerships, nothing else. And if a business is going to make more profits, it would share among its partners more, and then the prices of that share goes up because it's supposed to make more profits. That is the only training that is required. Of course, you need to know how the profit is made, whether profit declared is correct or not. And that's where I think Guru Murthy ji also talked about quarterly results and things like that. But stock market is about somebody sitting in Dibrugarh, somebody sitting in Jorhat, somebody sitting in Ladakh, investing in an entrepreneur's business in Salem in Tamil Nadu. That person in Ladakh or Dibrugarh or Jorhat, thousands of kilometers away, is not going to ever visit Salem. Even if she visits Salem, she is never going to visit the plant. Nobody will probably allow her inside. But she has a trust that when she invests her hard-earned 1,000 rupees, $10, she will get that person working, those managers and employees working for her. And they will make profit and then share that small profit out of all that profit they make with her. It's such a great leap of faith, right? And there are economic theories, books written, which says that poor per capita income countries cannot have good stock market. Because poor people cannot save, and if they save, they don't trust their brothers. How do they trust somebody sitting thousands of kilometers away? But India is an exception, like everything else. Today, after 30 years of NSE setup, before that it was basically a preserve of few rich people in India. Today, after 30 years of NSE starting operations, 12 crore Indians, unique Indians, not 12 crore accounts, 12 crore unique Indians, 23 crore accounts are now putting their hard-earned money into some other people's business. It is such a great leap of faith, but 12 crore for Indians is not a big number. But 12 crore, if I were a country, NSE was a country, we would be in top 10 countries in the world in terms of population. So 12 crore people, 9 crore households, 3 crore women are investing small little money. They are not billionaires. 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, 500 rupees, they are investing into other people's businesses, and those people, those entrepreneurs, those managers of companies are also so good that they are working hard, taking only salaries they deserve and making that profit and then giving it to their shareholders. It's such a great trust. I mean, I say sometimes that in last 70, 80 years of our independence, what did we achieve? We achieved our trust of our investors, our common household. 25% of India's households are now investing in stock markets, 1 out of every 4. Their trust into our entrepreneurs. Whoever tries to tell you, and there are a lot of people, they tell you that these entrepreneurs are bad, these, that, but our public has now started knowing that that is not correct. They work hard and give me profit. Naturally, they are also owners, they will also take some money. And that is the trust, the wealth of trust. Today, when NSE started in 1994, the total market capitalization of India was 2,70,000 crore. Today, it is 460 lakh crore. 125 times. $5 trillion, $5.2 trillion. 1/3 of India's wealth is now wealth of trust. Trust of small people into other small people. Trust of poor people into other poor entrepreneurs who are making India rich. And why will India become rich? It's because of this trust. The societies which trust each other are the societies which are going to create better things, more things. The societies which are rich, but they don't trust each other, they are going to go down. Because the life, as Ekatma Manavad or Manavta says, that it's about trust, about social capital. It's about creating things together. Alone, you are nobody. Together, we are a team, right? And that is where the concept of a stock market is so much more important to any developing economy, that we channelize the savings of households. Households save and they invest into various things, gold, silver, premises, real estates, but they also invest in other people's trust. And that is what the most beautiful thing about India is. At $3,000 per capita income of India, there is no similar market with, or similar country with a market. At $6,000, there is no similar country with a market. At $12,000 also, though not a similar country with a market. $24,000, there is one country, which is called China, where markets go down, government has to go and buy shares to show to the world, to their people, that no, our country is safe. In our case, when markets go down, government will try to think about putting more tax. Why I'm telling you this is, at $3,000 to $24,000, there is no similar country with a market. Even countries with $45,000 market today, we are larger than UK market, double the size. United Kingdom, we are larger than France. We are larger than any European country today. Only US, China, and Japan are larger than India's markets. And that tells you that our poor people are basically investing into other poor people's businesses and jointly coming up 1/3 of India's wealth. And if India is going to grow, it will grow on the back of technology. I mean, I have been a technologist all my life. For me, the technology is the only change that happens in the world. The world falls around it. And technology used to come in waves. And those waves used to come very slow. So we didn't realize, even our philosophers didn't realize, that the technology is the only change that happens. Because it would take like 30,000 years, 5,000 years, 500 years, several generations for technology to spread. And that's where the technology was not considered as a major factor. 300 years back, 400 years back, Industrial Revolution started changing the technology waves faster and faster. And then Information Revolution made it even faster. So what used to happen in thousands of years started happening in 200 years. In Industrial Revolution, Europe made more wealth than what was created in 10,000 years before. In the last 100 years, the world created more wealth than it was created in the last 5,000 years. And it took, say, 150 years for electricity to spread across the world. A car to go 80 years, a television 60 years, computers 40 years, mobile phone 20 years, a TikTok 2 years. Waves are coming faster, they are getting into the societies faster, wealth is going to happen faster. Who can create that wealth? The societies which are technologically adapted, which are willing to take technology and work with it. And which are those societies? Societies which are young. If you tell me you have a new phone, I don't care. Last 5, 10 years, 20 years, I'm running similar phones because I don't require, my same white shirt is running for 20 years. I don't require. The young people, you give your new phone to a 2-year-old, she will figure out how to play games without you ever teaching her. Young people adapt to newer technologies. And which country has more young people? You look at Japan, it has become old. You look at China, it has suddenly become old because of one-child policy. You look at India, average age 28. Next 50 years, India is not going to get old. You go to Pakistan and Bangladesh, both are young countries, but they want to go back to life of 1400-year-old. You go to Europe, it has become old. You go to America, it will become old if Indians don't go. This year, they are going to have less number of people than they had last year because they are not giving visas, right? Why I'm telling you this is the country which is going to grow will have young population, technologically oriented population. Now all of us are carrying two phones, right? 1.5 GB in $1.5 a month, right? Every day you are watching mobile, all the movies and all, but you are also transacting, you are learning. All Indians are doing that. And for me, that wealth is going to be created. Earlier, I think Guru Murthy ji talked about Karl Marx. He created a concept of capitalism. Before that, there was no concept of capitalism. That you required, what is capitalism? You required more money to create more money. And none of us had money because 1,000 years we were slaves. Our money had been looted. We had no capital. But slowly the technology waves came in such a way that you require less money to create more money. Nandan Nilekani, Narayan Murthy, all those guys proved 30 years back that you can make more money without putting money. Then came Binny, now this Swiggy fellows, Zomato, all of them are telling you that they started with nothing, they have become billionaires. You can create in the modern world, and increasingly with using technology, you will create more and more money by putting less and less money. America is still trying to project that in the artificial intelligence, you have to put in $500 billion and $1 trillion. China is proving that it's not required. But effectively, the next wave, 50 years, will create more wealth than that was created in the last 10,000 years. And who will create are the societies which are able to have young people, technology-oriented people, and this country with 18% of world population, 20% of young population of the world, and 30% of technology-oriented population, young population, it's going to create tremendous wealth in next 50 years. This place has not yet arrived, it's going to arrive. And for those youngsters coming from Salem, from Karaikudi, from Ladakh, they are going to create new businesses on new technologies, and they will require little money, not too much. I call it the new capitalism as capitalism without capital. You don't require too much capital. Earlier, capitalism with capital, now it doesn't require too much capital. And those young people will create those businesses. They will raise 2 crore, 3 crore, 5 crore from NSE to create those businesses, and they will become worth 30,000 crore and 50,000 crores in time to come, but very short time. I have seen 10 years back somebody raised 2 crore. Today he is worth personally 2,000 crores, and his investors have earned 6,000 crore more. And there are hundreds of examples in literally I have myself raised, because last 12 years I have been instrumental in having SME market where more than 1,200 companies have been listed. Many of them have gone to main board and they have become worth tens of lakhs of crore. And that is what India's destiny is. That's what the National Stock Exchange is. It's a completely Indian version of how a Western system can be adapted, Western technologies can be adapted, but for Indian purpose. And that's what Sunil ji said, that Swadeshi is not necessarily what we have to do here or what is idea coming here, but all the ideas of the world we take, use them for the betterment of the society. With that, I hope you got an idea of how, if India grows, and India will certainly grow over next 50 years, 100 years, it'll grow on the back of NSE. As our Vice President, Sri Radhakrishnan ji said last year at similar time in NSE, in the same podium, that without NSE, there is no Viksit Bharat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashish ji, a lot. I know most of the speakers we have, they have their own experiences, they have their shared ideas, but as a organizer, editor and organizer of the event, we have our own time pressures. But without, inviting Mangalji, this session cannot be complete. Simply because, Mangalji, मैं शुरू में जब उद्घाटन का कार्यक्रम हो रहा था तो मैंने आशीष जी का नाम लिया. मैंने कहा था 2 लोगों ने मुझे इस इवेंट की कल्पना दी थी. एक कार्यक्रम के लिए मैं मंगल जी से मिलने के लिए गया था और उसके बाद फिर वो दिल्ली आए थे और उन्होंने मुझे एक बात बताई, ऑर्गेनाइज़र मुंबई में क्यों नहीं है. और फिर उन्होंने कहा जब तक सही लोगों के सामने ऑर्गेनाइज़र और ऑर्गेनाइज़र की आइडिया, ऑर्गेनाइज़र की कंसेप्ट नहीं पहुंचती, तब तक ऑर्गेनाइज़र जो है वो मैं नहीं मानता कि बड़ा नाम हुआ है. तो Ashish ji was one person who put the idea, and Mangal ji was another person who instrumentalized that idea. So I would like to call Mangal ji. I would also like to call our MD Arun Kumar ji. Mangal ji will say a few words about, because he was also instrumental in organizing the event by DRI and Ekatma Manav Darshan. He was also part of this. So first we will felicitate Mangal Prabhat Lodha ji, and then I'll ask him to bless us. आपके आशीर्वाद हमारे लिए बहुत important है. करता हूं हमारे लिए आशीर्वाद पर 2 शब्द करें.
महाराष्ट्राचे आराध्य छत्रपती शिवाजी महाराजांना वंदन करून, भारत डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकरांना वंदन करून आज मुंबईमध्ये उपस्थित हा ऑर्गनायझर आणि NSEचे संयुक्त कार्यक्रम आहे. ते उपस्थित सर्व मुंबईकरांचं मी मनापासून स्वागत करतो महाराष्ट्र सरकारतर्फे आणि माझीतर्फे. अभी जिनका हमने बहुत सारगर्भित उद्बोधन सुना, ऐसे माननीय श्री सुनील उम्बेलकर जी, श्री गुरुमूर्ति जी, श्री प्रफुल्ल केतकर जी, ऑर्गेनाइजर एंड द ब्रेन एंड द मेन पर्सन बिहाइंड दिस, श्री आशीष चौहान जी, MD NSE, और सभी मान्यवर. समय की मर्यादा है, मुझे तो ये भी कहा नहीं गया कि कुछ देर बोलेंगे, कहा गया कुछ शब्द बोलेंगे. लिमिटेशन डबल कर दी गई है. क्योंकि सबको डर है पॉलिटिशियन है, माइक लेंगे तो थोड़ा ज्ञान बहुत ज़्यादा है इनके पास में, सबको बटोरेंगे। नहीं, मैं बहुत जल्दी अपनी बात समाप्त कर लूँगा। आज पंडित दीनदयाल उपाध्याय जी के एकात्म मानव दर्शन के 60 साल पूरे होने के उपलक्ष्य में हम सब यहाँ पर इकट्ठे हुए हैं। हमने कुछ समय पहले दीनदयाल शोध संस्थान के अतुल जैन जी यहाँ पर बैठे हैं और सुनील अंबेडकर जी, सुरेश सोनी जी सबके मार्गदर्शन में जिस जगह पर रुइया कॉलेज में पंडित दीनदयाल उपाध्याय जी ने 60 साल पहले 4 दिन तक एकात्म मानव दर्शन का विषय समाज के सामने रखा था, उसी स्थान पर हमने वापस बैठकर उनको याद किया और उसमें सभी बड़े बड़े गणमान्य लोग आए थे जिन सब के विचार अपने आप में एक पुस्तिका हैं। और पंडित दीनदयाल उपाध्याय जी ने उस समय, जिस समय भारत कैपिटलिज्म में जाएगा, साम्यवाद में जाएगा, ये सब के बीच में एकात्म मानव दर्शन का विषय भारत के लिए उपयोगी एक सही मार्ग लोगों को दिखाया था। क्योंकि वो जो सारे विषय थे, चाहे वो सोशलिज्म हो, कम्युनलिज्म हो, कैपिटलिज्म हो, व्यक्ति के ऊपर निर्भर थे, व्यक्ति को बड़ा करना। पंडित जी का कहना था कि जब तक व्यक्ति अपने आप में, परिवार और समाज, इसमें अपने आप को जोड़कर नहीं देखता, तब तक कोई देश और व्यक्ति खुश नहीं रह सकता और देश सुरक्षित नहीं रह सकता। तो ये सारा समझने के लिए हमको एक बार पंडित दीनदयाल उपाध्याय जी के एकात्म मानव दर्शन और उनके जीवन के सारे विषयों को जब जब मौका मिले तब पढ़ना चाहिए, देखना चाहिए, समझना चाहिए। मैं आपको छोटा सा निमंत्रण अवश्य दूंगा। पंडित दीनदयाल उपाध्याय शोध संस्थान के साथ में मिलकर हमने, जहाँ पर ब्रिज कैंडी के ऊपर कोस्टल रोड शुरू होती है, वहाँ पर एक पंडित दीनदयाल उपाध्याय चौक बनाया हुआ है। वहाँ पंडित दीनदयाल जी के जीवन के पट वहाँ पर लगाए हुए हैं। सभी आप कोस्टल रोड से जाते हैं, 2 मिनट के लिए वहाँ पर ठहरिए, देखने के बाद आपको आनंद भी होगा, मार्गदर्शन भी मिलेगा। क्योंकि आज जिस विषय पर हम बैठे हैं, उस समय पंडित जी ने जो कहा था वो भारतीय मॉडल ऑफ डेवलपमेंट था। आज जो ऑर्गेनाइजर ने यहाँ पर रखा है वो रिलीजियस धार्मिक मॉडल ऑफ डेवलपमेंट रखा है। ये यदि 25 साल पहले किसी ने कोशिश की होती कि धार्मिक मॉडल ऑफ डेवलपमेंट के बारे में चर्चा हो जाए, तो ये जो सो कॉल्ड अर्बन नक्सल्स हैं सब उठकर खड़े हो गए थे, अरे ये तो कम्युनलिज्म फैला रहे हैं। तब 50 सालों तक इस भारत के अंदर, हिंदुस्तान के अंदर हिंदुओं के बारे में बात करना, धर्म के बारे में बात करना, मतलब एक तरह से आपने कुछ गलती कर दी। ऐसा आतंक का वातावरण 70 साल तक भारत में चलता रहा। पर हर अंधेरे के बाद में एक सूरज उगता है। आज हम राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ के शताब्दी वर्ष में जब प्रवेश कर रहे हैं, तब आज हमारी ये स्थिति है कि हम यहाँ पर बैठकर धार्मिक मॉडल ऑफ डेवलपमेंट के बारे में बात कर सकते हैं। और जब तक व्यक्ति के अंदर धर्म नहीं है, संस्कार नहीं है, तब तक व्यक्ति किसी के काम का नहीं है, स्वयं के काम का भी नहीं है। और जिस देश के अंदर अपना मूल तत्व माना धर्म नहीं है, वो देश किसी काम का नहीं है। मैं पिछले सप्ताह एक कार्यक्रम में गया था। उस कार्यक्रम में मैंने कहा था कि अब वो सब बीत गया, अब तो समय ये आ गया है कि सारा देश और सारा विश्व इस बात को देखता है कि भारत के अंदर जो हिंदू हित की बात करेगा वही भारत पर राज करेगा। क्योंकि हिंदुत्व एक धर्म नहीं है, हिंदू धर्म का एक मॉडल है, धर्म का तरीका है और भारत का मूल तत्व है। मैं यहाँ पर अपनी बात को ज़्यादा लंबे समय तक न चलते हुए कुछ समय के अंदर समेटूंगा। पंडित जी ने जो विषय कहा था, उस विषय के अंदर हमको ये सब समझ लेना पड़ेगा कि पंडित जी का विषय केवल कुछ लोगों को ही आगे बढ़ाए, ऐसे डेवलपमेंट की तरफ उनका कभी विश्वास नहीं था। जब एकात्म मानव दर्शन के 60 साल पूरे होने के ऊपर हमने रुइया कॉलेज में कार्यक्रम रखा था, उस समय माननीय सुरेश जी सोनी ने अपने व्याख्यान में एक सेंटेंस कहा था। मैं उनके शब्द शायद दोहराने में गलती कर जाऊं, पर भाव आप समझिए। उन्होंने कहा था कि भारत कृषि प्रधान देश था और भारत कभी सोने की चिड़िया भी कहा जाता था। तो भारत सोने की चिड़िया किस लिए कहा जाता था कि भारत कृषि प्रधान देश था? क्या इसलिए कहा जाता था? ये सच नहीं है, क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ कृषि को कभी बेचा नहीं जा सकता, कृषि को व्यापार नहीं किया जाता। जो खेत में से हमारे पैदा होता था, ये मंदिर का हिस्सा है, ये गौशाला का हिस्सा है, ये समाज के कमज़ोर लोगों का हिस्सा है। और उसके बाद कोई बचता था तो वो घर के अंदर राखे रखा जाता था और उससे घर चलता था, कृषि बेचा नहीं जाता था। उसके बाद भी भारत यदि सोने की चिड़िया था, भारत का जीडीपी उस समय दुनिया के अंदर सबसे बड़ा था, भारत दुनिया में हर चीज़ का एक्सपोर्ट करता था, तो उसका क्या कारण था? तो उसका कारण उनके शब्दों में ये था कि भारत के घर घर के अंदर स्टार्टअप चलता था, भारत के घर घर के अंदर फैक्ट्री चलती थी। एक भी घर ऐसा नहीं था जहाँ पर कोई महिला या कोई पुरुष कुछ काम नहीं करते थे। कहीं पर पैकेजिंग का काम हो रहा है, कहीं पर मिट्टी से कुछ बर्तन बनाने का काम हो रहा है, कहीं पर लोहे का काम हो रहा है। यह सारा भारत की जीवन की पद्धति थी, और ये पद्धति के अंदर चूंकि भारत चलता था इसलिए भारत मजबूत था। इसलिए भारत के अंदर आज भी जो माननीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र भाई मोदी जिस भारत की कल्पना कर रहे हैं, उसमें कोई अंबानी अदानी बहुत बड़े बन जाएंगे तो भारत बहुत बड़ा नहीं बनेगा। भारत बहुत बड़ा तब बनेगा जब भारत की 100 करोड़ जनता जो काम करना चाहती है, रहवासी जो काम करना चाहते हैं, वो अपने आप के अंदर सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयमेंट के अंदर अपने आप को किसी काम में लगाए हुआ पाएँ। और भारत की इसी कल्पना को लेके धार्मिक मॉडल ऑफ डेवलपमेंट की जिस चर्चा के लिए हम यहाँ पर इकट्ठे हुए हैं, धार्मिक मॉडल का मतलब बहुत कुछ हो सकता है। व्याख्यान वाले आगे आने वाले वक्ता बहुत कुछ कहेंगे, पर जो इसका मतलब समझता हूँ वो मतलब ये है कि सबको साथ में लेकर चलना, स्वयं के विकास के साथ में समाज का विकास, और जहाँ पर मैं जिन लोगों के साथ रहता हूँ उनके जीवन में आनंद, यह सब धर्म हमको सिखाता है। धार्मिक मॉडल की इसी परंपरा को लेकर हम आगे बढ़ें। और अंत में जिस बात के लिए यहाँ पर केतकर जी ने मेरा नाम मुझे संबोधित किया कि ऑर्गेनाइज़र यहाँ पर आना चाहिए, ऑर्गेनाइज़र यहाँ पर आना चाहिए, ऑर्गेनाइज़र यहाँ पर जोरदार चलना चाहिए, क्योंकि ऑर्गेनाइज़र हमको धार्मिक मॉडल सिखाता है, ऑर्गेनाइज़र हमको देशभक्ति मॉडल के बारे में दिखाता है, ऑर्गेनाइज़र हमको भारत के अंदर क्या होना चाहिए वो सिखाता है। उस ऑर्गेनाइज़र को हम सब मिलकर मुंबई के अंदर लेके आएंगे और 5 जने का शंख भी यहाँ पर बजेगा, तो इस कार्यक्रम के अंदर हमने गुरु दक्षिणा अच्छी तरह से दी ऐसा माना जाएगा। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। जय हिंद, जय महाराष्ट्र।
धन्यवाद लोढ़ा जी। मुझे पता है आज महाराष्ट्र गवर्नमेंट का स्किल डेवलपमेंट का एक प्रोग्राम चल रहा है, इसलिए मुझे लोढ़ा जी को एक्चुअली इनॉग्रल सेशन में मैंने आग्रह किया था, लेकिन वो कार्यक्रम करके फिर भी वो वहाँ का उद्घाटन करके तुरंत यहाँ पे पहुँचे, यहाँ पे आए। ऑर्गेनाइज़र की तरफ से, एनएसी की तरफ से बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। हम ये सत्र यहीं पे पूरा करते हैं। अगले सत्र के वक्ता ऑलरेडी हमारे बीच में है, उनको हम कन्वर्सेशन मोड में जाएंगे। मुझे पता है सारे ऑडियंस हमारा कैप्टिव एंड कमिटेड है, दिन भर के लिए रजिस्टर करके आया है तो, लेकिन फिर भी राइट साइड में सारी फैसिलिटीज़ अवेलेबल है, चाय और कॉफ़ी की व्यवस्था है व्हेनेवर यू फील। बट एक अभी एक्चुअली वेरी फास्ट फायर राउंड होगा मिलिंद जी के साथ, सो वी विल हैव अ डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ सेशन नाउ। So I would request you to stay back and thank you very much मंगल जी, thank you आशीष जी। एक बार वैसे तो आशीष जी को धन्यवाद कहना, मतलब कौन किसको धन्यवाद कहे, फेलिसिटेट कह रहे, ये भी प्रॉब्लम है, लेकिन फिर भी मैं सबसे निवेदन करूँगा आशीष जी के लिए भी, अभी हमारे एमडी सर अरुण गोयल जी भी यहाँ पे है, तो आशीष जी को भी हम फेलिसिटेट करेंगे, क्योंकि आशीष जी को भी दोपहर में एक पोस्ट लंच सेशन में एक मीटिंग के लिए जाना है। तो यस मैं मिलिंद जी को निवेदन करता हूँ कृपया मंच पर आए। मिलिंद देवरा जी यहाँ के स्थानिक सांसद भी है, लेकिन उससे भी इम्पोर्टेंट, बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट पार्लियामेंट्री कमिटीज़ के मेंबर है। रिसेंटली मुझे मिलिंद जी को जब थैंक यू मिलिंद जी को जब मैंने इनवाइट किया और सबसे पहले ऑर्गेनाइजर का पोस्टर रिलीज हुआ, तो मुझे किसी ने फ़ोन करके पूछा, अभी मिलिंद देवरा एकात्म मानव दर्शन पर बोलेंगे क्या? तो मैंने कहा कि मैं एकात्म मानव दर्शन जितना समझता हूँ, as much as I understand, whoever stands for India, whoever keeps nation first approach is talking for Ekatma Manav Darshan. So I have called Milinji for a different reason. Because in the post-Operation Sindoor context, very few parliamentarians who stood up, irrespective of party line, who took India first line, Bharat first line, Milinji was one of them, and that is why Milinji is here on organizer platform today. So he also has got a meeting. I'm sure since morning you are sitting tight, so you would be also keen to have lunch. So we will have a very brief but a very tight fire round on various issues related to diplomacy and democracy in the turbulent world. That is the topic that we are going to discuss. And before that, a brief AV, if we can play, of Shri Milind Devaraji. Do we have the AV ready?
Shri Milind Devaraji is a prominent Indian politician, public policy voice, and reform-oriented leader known for his articulate advocacy on economic growth,
yes.
technology, and urban development. A former Union Minister of State for Communications, Information Technology and Shipping, he has served as two-term member of Parliament from South Mumbai, emerging as one of the youngest parliamentarians to hold office in the Lok Sabha. Educated at Sydenham College in Mumbai and Boston University in the United States, Shri Devara brings a global perspective combined with a deep understanding of Indian realities. During his tenure in government, he championed policies to expand digital infrastructure, modernize the telecom sector, and enhance port connectivity, while also promoting entrepreneurship and startup ecosystems. Beyond politics, he has been actively involved in initiatives around youth empowerment, civic engagement, and urban policy reforms, and is widely respected for his ability to bridge the worlds of business, technology, and public service. Known for his nuanced and forward-looking approach, Sri Milind Devara continues to be regarded as one of the most credible and influential young voices in Indian public life. We welcome Sri Milind Devaraji to Arthayam.
So Milinji, welcome, and thanks a lot for sparing your time. I know you have very tight day today. But Milinji, let us get straight to the point. After Operation Sindoor, you were one of the few voices who were very articulate, strong, and the first one to say, perhaps tariffs are blessing in disguise. Tariffs are blessing in disguise. So how do you see India positioning itself in the present world order, and how do you see this tariff war going? Then we will come to the context of Swadeshi and Atmanirbharta in the later part. So over to you.
Thank you. Firstly, Prafullaji, thank you so much for inviting me today. I appreciate it very much to be here at Pandit Deendayal Upadhyay's 60th anniversary of Ekatma Manav Darshan. As somebody who is a lifelong student of politics, in this debate today around the world, when we look at just the economy, whether it's socialism,